Hey all, Steve from GuitarNiche here. On the bench we have a very well-loved Takamine, or Takamine, depending on your vernacular, G Series acoustic here. What do we got here exactly? EG341 blah blah blah. Okay, it's an acoustic guitar with electronics in it, and it's from a very well-known brand name. But it has seen better days. So the purpose of this introduction, at least, is to find out what not to do with guitar fix-its, tech, repair, whatever you want to call it. And I want to make this a learning experience for people that maybe don't have a larger view of how things should be done. So we're going to learn from this. And we'll start way up at the headstock here. First thing I did was I took out the nut. And what I noticed right away, it's got a nasty shim in there. Not that shimming is a really bad thing, but this was not done very well. So talking it over with the client, I mean, he loves this guitar. I can't stress this enough. The guitar is not worth a whole lot of money, but to him, it's everything, and he's a playing, working musician. You have to respect that. That's point one. Anyway, not the best solution for a nut job. So I told him I'm going to replace the nut. Simple as that. I mean, that's a relatively straightforward job. Okay, and then onward, you'll notice that the frets are kind of sketchy. So in fact, the first 3 frets have been replaced, and it screamed at me when I looked at it. I was going, he replaced the first 3 frets, didn't he? The fact is, you should not be able to tell when frets are replaced, and it's going to be virtually impossible to see here, but looking down the edge of the neck, well, maybe you can see it. You can see where the new frets were laid in, and poorly. I'm sorry I really don't like hacking on people, but you know, when people charge big money for shit work, I got a problem with that. These replaced frets are oversized, they're not crowned, and it's just piss poor work. I'm sorry, I gotta call it what it is. Now, so what I'm gonna do before I continue is I'm gonna replace those 3, and I'm also probably gonna do number 4 as well, because I'll pull it out and get proper dimensions on it to make sure that I put a wire in there that matches the rest of the fretboard, and which will make ultimately the instrument will be more holistic in approach. Matching fret wire, tang, everything as close as I can get it will make the instrument more original and back to factory as we can get it, you know, considering it's it's rather played out state, you might say. I mean, this guy's got some technique. That's a fact. Now, on to the saddle here. So if we take up the saddle, by the way, anybody who knows the G Series and does tech work will be groaning at the moment, because these things, they sound great. I gotta say, the Takamine electronics are killer, but these saddles suck. They suck because they're not easily, you know, repairable or manipulatable or whatever you want. I mean, it's just a shit show. Sorry to use the language, but it is what it is. So, on with the show. What we see here is somebody has tried to modify the saddle from the top, which is a huge no-no. That's just a huge no-no. You don't do that. Modify it from the bottom. Take the material off from the bottom. Unfortunately, whoever was working on this probably didn't realize, oh, you know, I can't really do it from the bottom, so I'm going to do it from the top. Fine. Okay, whatever works. I've done it. I have done it with to some various degrees of success. And yeah, it's a sin, but you know, when in a pinch, it does work. But that's not cool. That's a lot of notch. And as we look closer, obviously, those notches are there for a reason, to bring the strings down. Why? Who knows? Well, for whatever reason, we got some serious shims going on in here. Okay, I'll dig them out. Pardon me for a second while I try to stabilize things and get this out. Okay. Okay, so our shims. There's one. That's probably factory, because this is very common with Takamine type stuff. And here's another, darn it, another shim in there, which I'll dig out eventually. There we go. Okay. Another shim. This seems to be bone by the looks of it, but the first things I notice is, does that look like a proper shim? Not really. You know, again, not to bash whoever did the work, but this is not the way it's done. It's not the way it should be done. So we have an issue here where, and you know, more power to people who try to solve problems in whatever methodology that seems to work for them, but do a little homework. If you're going to charge people for working on their instruments, know your stuff beforehand. Simple as that. This kind of shimming is unacceptable. Simple as that. So what we have here is a situation where a failure to communicate, and that communication is between the logic of what's going on with the top of the saddle and the logic of what's going on underneath. But it is what it is. You know, in the world of guitars, there's all sorts of wonderful things that happen. I'm not going to question it. I'm not going to debate it. It is what it is. This is fairly lightweight compared to some other things I've seen happen. But my job is to correct it and make it right. And that's what I'm going to do. Hopefully I can document each process in turn. So we're going to look at the bridge work, which will consist of what I'm going to do. Since I don't have a direct replacement, and I'm gonna fashion a bone, or maybe even a graphite substitute, and mill it to fit this carriage, the actual pickup carriage. It's not rocket science. It's really straightforward, you know, technical work. It really is, and make that happen. And I don't have to worry about the ends here. They can be straight across, you know, think outside the box a little bit. And we'll do that, and we'll get it back to spec. Okay, we'll go oversize and then mill it down. And then with the fretwork, I'm going to, as I said, I'm going to replace 1, 2, 3, probably 4 frets. I'm going to take that out to get some measurements on it. And lastly, we're going to make a new nut for this thing. You know, do a proper nut. I'll wind up, let's get some light on that. I'll wind up cleaning up the slot. There's, look, there's a lot of garbage in there. I don't think that was cleaned up properly to begin with, as is evidenced by a massive void which is filled with leftover glue. And true that up and make a proper nut for it. Speaking of which, I got a couple nut blanks that I've selected that will certainly do the job. Why do I have 2? Because I screw up, just like everybody else. Not everything is perfect first go, and I like to have backup. Yeah, I've made mistakes in the past. That's how I learn, you know. Every mistake made is an asset towards future forward movement. Think of it like that, okay? It's a wonderful thing. Fail forward faster. Anyway, again, my name is Steve. Have a great day. Play loud. Have fun. Have a great day again. And like and subscribe. We'll be back and see how these individual jobs go. Thanks a bunch. See ya.